Hello, everyone. You are now watching Talk with Shauna right here on the Fired Up Network Female Empowerment Movement. I am extremely excited to have one of my good friends, someone that I have the joy to say I've worked with many times on the show today. His name is Mike DeFeria of Blacktail Recordings. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Hi, how are you doing, Shauna?
How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. A little tired, but working through. Doing the grind. You know how it is in the music industry. It's
Definitely.
every
That's
minute's
good to
a
hear.
working hour, a working a
Exactly.
working minute.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
I'd love everyone to know a bit more about you. So I'd like to kind of get your backstory a bit. Where are you originally from? I don't think I even know this. Where are you originally from, and where are you currently located right now?
Well, like I was born and raised in Toronto, and moved to Mississauga area when I was, I think, 5 years old. And then I've just lived in Mississauga pretty much my whole life. Right now, Blacktail is based out of Clarkson and Mississauga, which is basically just like 10 minutes from downtown. It's conveniently located. It's great little spot. I have other little secret locations I have access to do recording and stuff with friends if need be. But yeah, I'm pretty much I can work anywhere. But I work mostly out of my home studio, which is Blacktail Recording. That's my home base. I do most of my work out of. And then I do work out of another studio called Atlas Sound Studios, which is a more commercial facility. So for larger projects, drums, orchestras, and that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Amazing. You have a great
Not to
spot.
veer off your question, but yes, I'm located in Toronto, Ontario. So
Yeah, no,
firstly,
that's okay. This is what I
yeah.
like. See, this is the stuff I like, right? In between.
But yeah, I'm pretty much I can work anywhere. But I work mostly out of my.
Was there something specific that inspired your involvement in the music industry?
Um, you know what? Like music has always been such a huge part of my soul, my whole life. Like as far as I can remember, since I was born, like my earliest memory of music was overplaying like millions of times. I had this little record player, Michael Jackson's Thriller. That was the one album that made me fall in love with music. And then from there, it just over the years, as a kid, I always loved it, but I was never really exposed to it till 1991 when I saw Nirvana Nevermind come out, and I saw Smells Like Teen Spirit for the first time on TV, and I was like, what? Michael Jackson's Thriller. That was the one album that made me fall in love with music. And then from there, it just over the years, as a kid, I always loved it, but I was never really exposed to it till 1991 when I saw Nirvana Nevermind come out, and I saw Smells Like Teen Spirit for the first time on TV, and I was like, what is that? And I was like, I want to do that. I'm like, I don't know what that is, that is, but just the chaos of the video, the performance, the rawness, the authenticity of the music, it just resonated. Like that is I have to say, is if I look at one turning point in my life, was that day, that night. I vividly so remember that moment, even still after all these years, that it's so iconic and I keep bringing it back. And another moment when I really decided I wanted to go hard with musicianship and production was in high school. There was this talent show, and I saw this like young band go up, and they just killed it. And they did a cover of the Cranberries' Zombie. And I fell in, I'm like, oh my God. I just looked at them, and then they were all grade 12s. So I was like, oh my God, those guys are the coolest. Like, I want to do that. I want to play. And then just getting involved with bands, and then like really listening to my favorite band's records and really dissecting recordings. I started getting into this fanatical thing with music where I started really like dissecting and listening for the little things in the mixes, and I started getting interested in like what's going on, what did they do to create this, and it just grew. And then I started getting involved in all the bands at the time I was playing in all their productions, getting my feet wet. And then in 2005 I was playing in a band professionally, and we abruptly broke up. We all quit our jobs, broke up because we had a Canadian tour planned, and we quit our jobs and all that stuff, invested thousands of dollars to get a van and all this stuff. And 3 weeks before the tour, that all just fell apart for some reasons, but I'm not going to get into. But it was devastating. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I just messed up my life at 24 years of age. I'm like, I have to do something to correct this. So I'm like, I'm going to school for recording, and went to school for recording 2 years. Yeah, and it was great. And actually, right out of recording school, started recording bands and was working full time while working. I had two full time jobs. I was working full time at dealerships, because I would work at car dealerships, and then I worked full time as an engineer too. So I was I was working a lot, but it grew. And then I got to an opportunity where I was laid off with a package from one of these dealerships, and that gave me the, you know what, I'm gonna go recording full time, and that's what we are here today. What, 13 years later?
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's been quite a ride, but it's definitely interesting, and everybody in the industry has their own path in a different way. but it's definitely interesting how it's been for me.
It's amazing to hear that, to hear the
Yeah,
backstory, and to get an idea. I haven't had a chance to talk to you about that. We've been in the studio with you so much. We've been
I
working.
know we've spent so many hours together. You think you
Yeah.
know this, Shona? No, I know we've never. It's always the thing is like with working with you, it's always been really fun, and
Mm,
it's almost like you almost like flabbergasted. It's like, how do I not know more about this person? Like,
I know.
but it's been as a working relationship, it's so natural, and I'm so focused on the task at hand that it's fun and it's smooth, and it's like the hours go by. It's like, okay, you got to go because
I
you're
know.
an
Yeah.
adult and you have responsibilities. So it's like, we never got that get those moments to talk, but
Right.
yeah,
Well,
it
we're
is.
making up for it now, right? So
Yeah,
you're
yeah, you're
working out.
making up for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, did I want to know, did you grow up in a musical family? Was that something that was part of your life, really? Or
Yeah, it's weird. For when it comes to musical ability, like when you people like, oh, my dad played guitar in bands, I had none of that. Like the only thing is my mom was loved listening to music.
mm,
So growing up, I grew up listening to a lot of like Patsy Cline, um, like country music, Alan Jackson, Shania Twain. Like in the early years, like I would listen to because where my mom would listen to that stuff, right? So
mhm.
yeah, it was not a musical family per se, but they knew, like, it just didn't stop me. I'm pretty tenacious. Like if I want something, i'll I get it. So
Right.
I wanted to play music, and I'd play with my little guitar, and I'd grab my mom's spoons when I was little, and like there was no hardcore influence. There was one influence in my family. My cousin, my older cousins
Mm,
played guitar. But it's funny because I would go over to their house and I would see their room up the stairs because they had a room in the attic because they were teenagers, they were cool. And I would see his guitar on his stand, his electric guitar, and he'd say
mm.
Kiss posters. But I wouldn't have the courage to go into his room because I was terrified of Kiss. So,
Oh,
so yeah, so I would see the guitar, but I'm like, oh, I want an electric guitar. I want electric. So it was kind of like it was weird. Like if you kind of like were to write a script, it's kind of you can make a movie out of it. Like that, looking down that tunnel to see that light, and the guitar was just perfectly there. I could see it, and it was like I just remember all these little visions and signs and like of my past. It's weird. Like the older you get, like you forget a lot of stuff, but certain things are so cemented in your mind that it's overwhelming that you remember all these little key things that fuels your passion today.
definitely. Well, the thing about Michael Jackson, I was pretty obsessed with him too. Like I had a Michael Jackson record player, and I would go in my room.
Oh,
I would literally talk back to the record, like, "Hi,
mm,
Michael Jackson." I thought he was talking to me
yeah.
through music, and I thought that was really cool that you brought that up. That's something we have in common. Um, do you? So I'm assuming, but we'll talk more about this. Do you write your own music?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I'm all about originality.
Mhm.
I am very difficult to get together with musicians and just jam. I
Mhm.
always have to have a purpose, a plan
Right.
going into a jam. Like, what are we doing? Like, I can't just go into a room with other musicians and be like, "All right, so what do you guys want to play?" Like, I can't do that. I'm
Right.
just not structured that way. I'm so methodical. I think from the production side, that
Mhm.
the musician side, I'm so methodical also. Um, I'm very structured, but it has proven to work very well so far. The results have been the is in the pudding, pretty much in the results. But yeah, like I do write everything. I do have odd ways of writing. But again, my writing style is fully um, fueled by the production brain, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. So it's
Yeah.
weird because I have all these skills with production. I have all the tools at my disposal, and it's like And that's the cool thing. I know COVID was really rough for people, but I think it sparked creativity in the human race, because a lot of people just gave up, like, oh, I'm going to quit my job that I hate. I've been working all these years, and I'm going to do what I love, and they've been doing well, and their passions, like, it's crazy. I don't know. So
That's amazing. That's
yeah.
definitely a positive thing about COVID. I mean, I think a lot of people, it forced people to kind of slow down and think for a second and go, what am I doing? What do I want to be doing? Kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
And
it's crazy though, Shona, because I
mm,
never thought, and if you told me 5 years ago
mm,
that in 5 years you're gonna be writing music again,
mm,
I would have been like, no,
mhm,
no
mm,
way, there's no way.
yeah,
COVID, really, as devastating as it was,
mm,
there is a silver lining that it I think people came out, they want more truth. They want more. I think the music industry was going in a way where just like, what's going on? Like, and people are now like, there's a lot of cool music coming out and art coming out now
mm.
since COVID, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I
It's
think that was
lively.
definitely a good part of it for
Yeah.
sure. Well, I know you attended school for music because you told
Mhm.
me that you went. So can you tell me a bit more about that? What was the school that you went to, and what did it involve exactly?
I attended the very, very early days of Metalworks Institute.
Mm, mm,
I did my training there. Some there is a few, and I mean very few, maybe with one hand, a couple of instructors that really influenced me still to this day, that I remember what they would hound me about and bust my chops about, and really try and get a message across on teaching audio, and I still hold some of those values today strongly from those instructors. So it was a great experience. Again, I it was a foundation. I'm a learner that does it when I do things. I learn when I do things. I can't sit in a room and like, so it gave me the good basic fundamentals, but I really started like coming into my own after graduating,
mm.
years after. Um, yeah,
Cool.
it's been a long ride. It's a long way.
Well, I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing because I have such a great connection with you as a producer, engineer. We've had a great, relationship up until this date.
Yeah.
You are the engineer on my single that came out with Chaclair, Fresh Start.
Yeah, that
And
was so fun.
also my new single that's going to be coming out soon called Reflection as well. And of course, I have another one in the works, which maybe I'll have to have you back on the show and we can talk about that.
All right.
So I think to this date, you are one of the best relationships I've had with an engineer and producer. So I really value that and appreciate that. I really
I
do.
mean, it means a lot, Shona. It
Mhm.
does.
Oh,
It does.
for
You are
sure.
super great. You're talented and fun to work with. So,
Awesome. I love that. I love that. Well, what would you say is your particular style of music that you're doing currently? I know you are doing your own project now. What style of music would you put that in? I know it's kind of hard sometimes to put it in a genre.
would you mean from the Blacktail side, or just like from the production side?
Um, well, okay, you could start with the production side. I mean, you're multifaceted, so you are doing the production side and you
Yeah.
also have your own project. So first maybe Blacktail, and then we could go on to your next project that
Okay.
I know you're doing.
So Blacktail recording, like the thing is when I learned recording audio, I learned to record sound
Mm-hmm.
and record sound well.
Right.
So that is my number one value. So when somebody asks me, he's like, "Hey, can you record this like acoustic folk record?" I'm like, "Is it sound?" Yes. I'm like, "Yes, I could do it."
Right.
I've spent many hours actually, like if you look at my some of my playlists for music, it's ridiculous. It goes everything from like gargoyles screaming to like soft piano ballads. Like I listen to everything because I like studying. I like what makes a pop song so great. What elements? What is it in the mix that is drawing me in?
Mm.
That's the way I look at. I look at audio like a painted picture. Like, why is this painted this way as opposed to that way? Why does heavy metal sound one way, but folk sounds another way? And that's what I kind of take that time to divide and study, like the elements. It's all technicalities of like how far or close you are with a microphone to a source. That changes what the effect of the mix will sound like. Like, there's so many factors that go on, but generally, most of the time I'm working on rock, pop, hip hop, R&B. Um, those are my majors. Acoustic stuff once in a while. I do a lot of international stuff.
Mm,
I do a lot of Middle Eastern music too.
I love
Um,
that.
Funny enough,
Okay.
it's crazy. I never grew up listening to some of these genres,
Mm,
but the clientele just get drawn because I've taken what I love about hearing music and I apply it to my mixing, and I'm getting a lot of Middle Eastern customers coming in and mixing like their songs with me to because they're like, oh, it sounds way better than I had before, and hey,
I love that. There's so many beautiful styles of music. It really is. And like for you to have an appreciation for all of those styles, it's great to hear. And you're great
yeah,
at what you do.
I try to be when someone contacts me, I want to be the best professional I can be.
Mm,
Like I want to make sure, like nothing is underlooked at my studio. Every cable is thought out and like, is this the best quality cable for this situation? Like, I did not cheap out. I made all my cables are custom made by myself in here.
mm,
um the signal flow, everything, the electricity, everything is taken account for the sound, everything. So I make sure that when somebody contacts me, I want to be the best professional regardless of any genre they want to do. I want to be able to help them out to get their vision across.
it's true. And I notice that when I'm in the studio with you is that you pay attention to all of those details. They all
Yeah.
matter. They all matter, right?
Yeah, I get sometimes people upset with me and how
Oh,
detailed I am with their voices sometimes, but they're like, I can't even hear them. I'm like, here, listen to this, and I'll zoom it in, and they're like, you're right. I'm like,
yeah.
how did you hear that? It's like when you hear so many voices throughout the years, you hear the human voice. I start to hear. It's weird. My mind now can't hear music normally anymore. It's like
Right.
everything's dissect. I hear every little nuance of a voice. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. So.
That's
And
amazing, though.
yeah,
It's a great way to look at it, especially if you're going to be doing your own work as well, like as an artist.
yeah,
You start from the production side as well. You hear it all when you're doing
yeah.
it. Um, what do you have a favorite music artist? I know you like a lot of different genres. Do you
Hmm.
have a favorite? I know it's a real hard one.
Um. Oh my God. Uh. I can't really say. You know what?
Besides me, Mike. No.
Tone it down for sure. Um. No,
Yeah.
I love. You know what? I like everybody I work with, but as far as I have like favorite art, like I don't know. Like I find that when I was younger, I used to be like so adamant about having favorite artists, but as the
Mm,
years have gone by, I just like good songs,
yeah.
regardless of who it is.
True.
If
True.
the song resonates with me at that moment, it makes me feel better. That's
Mm,
all that matters.
yeah.
It's so strange because when I was younger, it's like I would only listen to one genre and that's it. That's my favorite band and I'm gonna overplay them. And it's like I don't
Right.
do that anymore. It's like it's on my feeling. If I'm
Right.
angry that day, I'm listening to metal.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, and it makes me feel so like
Yeah.
it's so relieving. So it all depends on mood.
Right.
I can't. Sorry, artists. I'm not going to give you any shout outs. I'm no favorite artist. I'm not giving anybody a shout out because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't want to single anybody out more than
Mhm.
anybody else. But
I
if
know. I
you
know.
make great songs and you're honest with your music, I'm a fan.
It's there. Yeah.
Well,
That's
that's who I'm a fan of.
yeah. What advice would you give to someone interested in getting into the music industry?
Don't. That's a joke. It's a joke. That's a
I
joke. Okay.
know. But I
Okay.
kind of laughed for a second there because I was
I
like,
know.
yeah.
I know. It's okay. First off, you have to be a special kind of snowflake to do the music industry.
Yep.
I find it takes so okay, I get a lot of people that contact me that decide wake up one day and they contact me, is like, hey, I want to record a song. I'm like, okay, do you have your song? No, I have the lyrics. And I go, but I have the song in my head. I'm like, so basically all you have is words on paper.
Right.
Let's be realistic here. And so it's like a lot of people, because of social media and pop culture, people think that they could just wake up and be a musician on the top of the hat. I go, it takes something, but if that person has something, I find the best advice to get into the music industry is to go all in, not half foot in. You don't put one leg in and have one leg out. You can't play safe.
No.
It is risky. It is very you have to really kind of take a look at your situation and say, can I do this? And is it going to affect anybody? Like, because my outlook as a musician 20 years ago is so different than what it is now. So you kind of got to adjust with where your life is at. And if your life is at a good spot and you have the passion and you're willing to give up everything, like, you got to give up. Like, if you're gonna like, all your buddies are gonna call you every night to go to the bar where you could be at home working on your craft,
Right.
you should do that.
Yes.
That's sacrifice. That's going to set you apart from the next guy. That's the way I look at it. This is a cutthroat industry. And like I've told you, Shona, so many times when you've come into my sessions, and I think, I don't know if you'll remember this, but I've told you that on your way to my place, to my studio, you've probably passed 50 that you could have gone to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why did you come to me?
Right.
So it's like, so in that, not to get off the topic, but to get into the industry, you have to go in like a pit bull. You have to be true to yourself, be honest, work hard, and just do it. Do it for you. Don't do it to please anybody else.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
That's the most base. I can get really like ramble about this question, but that's generally the core. I find the core has to be there, because I'm a strong believer. If there's a will, there's a way.
I agree with you.
And
we're going to talk about that question a lot more too down the line, because it's a pretty, it's a deep topic, right?
No, it's a heavy question, and everybody's going to answer it. And I find sometimes what you get with some of these industry people is you get that sugar-coated BS, and it's like, you don't need that sugar-coated BS. There's too much BS in the industry. We just went through COVID. People don't want BS anymore. They want honesty. They want truth. They want just real art, something they can relate to. And so, same thing with going into the industry. Like, as an artist, as a producer, you got to be real and work hard at what you do.
Absolutely. And it is hard work too.
Yeah,
it is. It's a lot of hard work.
It's not easy. I'm still learning every day. And now I'm 25 years in.
Too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's leading into my next question. What would you say is one of the best things about the music industry?
Oh my God. One of the
I know it's tough. Well, you don't have to decide what the best thing is. Maybe just a few good things about it. Perhaps.
All right, it's not necessarily the music industry, but I'm gonna tell you what excites me.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
When I work on a project and I see it come out and I see the artist pushing it and hustling and people commenting on it, when people comment like amazing comments on it, that's the best. That's the best. When people relate, when my work is out there in people's ears and they're enjoying it. I
know.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Yes, this is a business, and income is a very important thing. But if you go into this industry about this, you're gonna fail. you're gonna fail.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You can't go into this about money. It has to be about
No.
heart. So
No.
for me, it's the same thing with the blacktail. It's like when I see my work out there and a single or a record is doing well for an artist, I love that because
Hmm.
I just want my work to be heard. Like I want my chance to be heard and be considered to be like, oh hey, I really like how that guy mixed. Maybe he should mix our record. That for me is what if I could just for me it was never about money. It was
Mm.
always about, you know what, if I could afford to put roof over my head, food on my plate, and clothes on my back, that's
Then
all
there
it's
you go.
about. For me, that's all it's about. So it's not about fancy cars or luxury and none of that. It's if you can do what you love to do and you wake up in the morning not dreading going to work,
Yes.
that's the biggest thing. Because I worked many jobs where I dreaded to go to work. I
Yes.
hated it. I hated it. Like it was horrible.
Mm. It's true. And you get excited because when you're about to hear what you've come up with, or
Yeah.
it's there's really nothing like it, really, is there? It's just so
Yeah.
such a great feeling that you get from it.
And I'm a very emotional guy and I wear my heart on my sleeve. So when I send a mix to a client and I don't hear them back and it's like they don't like it,
Mm.
it's the most heartbreaking thing for me.
Mm.
When
Yeah.
I can't nail their vision,
Mhm.
I'm so devastated. But it does happen. People need to understand. Just because you go to this one guy to mix, he'll mix different than the next guy. So it's like the person with Picasso. He never
Mm.
painted the same masterpiece twice the same way.
Right.
He
Right.
he couldn't. So that it's that way. So it's a weird game, but even some of the top mixing engineers and producers go through it where they're up against other big guys and they're kind of like just putting them on a line and like we're gonna pick who we like best.
Right.
It's kind
Yes.
of dirty, but like
It is.
it's part of the business though. Like
Yeah.
it's
And
an
I guess
art.
that's the one thing that you sort of have to kind of deal with for all the other great things, you know?
Yeah, so there is like there's it's not all like roses and butterflies and
No.
there is good, there is bad, but if you have the will to fight and keep making your art and stay true to yourself, none of that matters.
It's true. It's
Yeah,
true.
as long as we're happy in the end, because we're on this earth once.
It's true. And you get to leave a mark of some sort,
Yeah,
you
like
know?
it's crazy that you say that because I've already noticed as a musician the impact it's done to the band, our kids. Like
Mm.
our kids are singing along to our song, and it's crazy.
Isn't that amazing,
Yeah,
the type of impact that that has?
yeah,
Um,
it's
well, I think we already sort of touched on what maybe one of the worst things about the industry is, right? I mean, we kind of already sort of discussed
yeah.
that. That was my next question. But um, do you have any upcoming projects? And if so, what are they?
For Blacktail,
Hmm.
I have a couple things in the works that I can't talk about.
Hmm.
Uh, I am working with a new band right now called Hidden Iris. They're like a rock, like a psychedelic rock grunge kind of band.
Hmm.
I just been producing their 3-song EP that they're doing. That's going into mixing stages now. Um, what else am I working on? Oh my god, I'm working on so much stuff. I'm literally splitting my brain every day, as producer and musician every day. So I'm doing a ton of writing too.
Yeah.
A lot of songwriting for the band, demoing. We're making sure that this is going to be right. But yeah, as far as projects, I have some stuff coming up. Um, I wish I could dazzle you with something cool, like. I'm working
Oh,
with Lady
Mike,
Gaga in this
no,
project.
you dazzle me every time I see you in the studio and I see you working the way you work. You dazzle me consistently. So there you
Thank
go.
you so much,
You
Shauna.
do. You do. Okay, well, I'm excited because you are currently a part of the band Chasing Heroes. And I am excited about this. I'd like everybody to know about you. And I'd like to know a little bit more about what's happening. So, what is your role in the band? First off.
So I'm a vocalist and guitarist in the band. Our bass player is Andrew. Our lead guitar player is Miss Marie, and our drummer is Enzo. We're a four-piece punk rock band from Southern Ontario, and we're just four people that met playing in the music scene over the last 2 years, and we were in other bands, and things didn't work out with those other bands, and we got together. I started this little project at the end of 2022. I was putting together kind of demos and stuff and trying to find members, and Andrew showed his interest one day. Everything, the thing is, the strange thing with Chasing Heroes is everything's been going so well so fast. But the one thing that's fantastic about this band from any other band I've played in is that everything's just fallen into place naturally. And that's the smoothest flow, like the way the songwriting's coming together, the way we play together. It is scary how good things are going, and we're super excited about it. But we're like a four-piece punk rock band from Southern Ontario. Basically, we're four just hardworking, blue-collar adults that we have families, we have kids, we do our daily grind, and then we play in this band. And this band is to kind of reason why I'm doing this music is to show my son that doesn't matter how old you are, you can still do this and you can still do it well. And surprisingly, the response has been phenomenal. People are really, really digging us, and we just released a single too, and so yeah, it's great.
So you're single. So it's called Empty Cages, which I love that. I think that's a great name.
Yeah.
When did that come out? You said it just came out recently?
Yeah, it came out June 6th, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Amazing. That's
yeah,
great.
the response has been overwhelming. This one was a really personal one to me because this one was basically written about mental health.
I love that, Mike.
It's written, and if people pay attention, the way I write very vaguely. So the way I write is that anybody can interpret in any way and relate in any way. So what the words mean to you will mean something different to somebody else, but they still mean something.
Right.
So, but the song itself is on the basis of struggling with mental health, and especially for those people that have a hard time leaving the house, have a hard time meeting up, calling a friend to get together, and then that loss of time and that friendship just disintegrates. Empty Cages is referring to being stuck in a cage that's empty, like you're just there by yourself, like so you're in this personal hell. And I wrote that from my perspective. This song is really personal to me. I was truly hoping that it can kind of reach out to somebody else, because last year I went through a really, really, really rough time. And I think you remember there's a gap when I told you.
There was, and you talked to me a bit about it. We didn't get into depth, but yeah.
So we didn't get into depth, Shona, but I remember telling you about it, and this song is a reflective of that period.
Yeah.
So it was a really rough time, and it was unbelievable how quick the song came together. It just like I said, everything just fell together nicely, and I felt like I had to do this because I don't want to write songs about like going partying or getting drunk or doing drugs. Like with our material, we want to keep it like real, like
Mm,
for the middle class person that has to get up, go drop their kids at work, go to work, come home, pick up their kids, rush, make them dinner. Like this band is a representation for everybody that's out there that wanted to do their dreams, and it shows you can.
yes.
Even
Yes.
though you are doing that hustle, picking up your kids, making dinner, you still can make music. And I hope people can relate to us with that, like that whole hard work and authenticity that we have to offer.
I love that, Mike. I really do. And I love that you're bringing attention to mental health too, because there's such a stigma around mental health that I find it needs to end. It needs to stop. You know,
Yeah,
the way I see it is you break your arm, you go to the doctor, you get a cast. And it's the same with mental health. You can go and you can ask for help and you can get help and you
yeah,
shouldn't feel bad about that. And I think we all go through times in our life where we feel like we need that help.
yeah.
And a lot of the times we don't feel like we can talk about it, right? So,
And another thing I think is super important, and growing up a European male, I is that we have to break that stigma of that macho bullshit where men can't talk about their feelings. Um,
mhm,
yeah, no, I'm a very strong, opinionated person. Another thing with this band is we don't tolerate is we're all about including everybody. If everybody wants to
mm,
come to a show and have a good time, they should feel safe. They shouldn't be sexually harassed. They shouldn't be
mhm,
judged because of what they're wearing. So we're
mm.
not going to tolerate that stuff also at our shows. We're a pretty honest, down to earth band, and as being a producer, there's things about the industry I don't like.
Yeah,
So the musician side is kind of like my dark superhero, where I can kind of go like,
like I'm doing this
I'm doing it this way.
this way, and you're
We're
gonna have
kind
to
of
go
like,
along
it's
with it.
kind of like Chasing Heroes is gonna break the rules, but Black
Yeah,
Tail follows the rules.
right,
But no, as far as the musician side of me, it has to be done a certain way,
right.
or else it's not done. It's not
I
working.
get you, and I think that's part of being influential, powerful, honest
Yeah,
artist,
yeah,
right? To just be like, this is what I'm doing, and this is how it's going to be, and this is how it's supposed to be. You
yeah.
know, don't try to change that kind of thing. And so
We
I
have to be
appreciate that.
honest. The
Mhm,
problem is nobody in the world's honest because we're gonna hurt feelings. Honesty comes with good and bad. That
mhm.
that's the way we look at it.
Yep,
Sometimes we hear things we don't like to hear, but we have to hear them.
it's true because it is for a better good at the end of the day. It is.
Exactly, exactly. Like I tell some clients sometimes, like that take was garbage, and then they
Mhm,
get offended.
mhm.
I'm telling you it's garbage because I know you can do better. I
Right,
go, this is for your good. I'm doing that. This is tough love.
right,
So I'm
exactly.
a
And
very tough love kind of guy.
that's one thing I love about you. I would be scared if you weren't like that. When you tell me sometimes you could do that better, I'm like, thank you, Mike. I needed to hear that. That was
No, 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 no,
refreshing.
no, 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 no,
You know what I
no,
mean? I love
no,
that about you.
no. Yeah,
And that just shows how dedicated you are to
yeah.
getting the best out of people.
And
And I
it's
love
crazy
that.
because some people can't handle it.
I know. I know. It's
Like
true.
it drives me crazy. Like, what are you doing? You're a musician. This is part of the
Mhm.
game. Like,
Right. You have to really be focusing on creating the best piece of art that you can create.
yes,
And not to hold yourself back, you know, not
yeah.
to fall into that. So yeah, I was going to say what message would you give to new followers? And where can they find you on social media? Because I know they're going to want to.
So okay, so you can find me for the recording and production stuff. You can find me at on Instagram, Facebook. Just search at Blacktail Recording. Um, you'll find all my stuff there, my contacts, little videos, clips, all that stuff. And for the musician side, for the people who want to look for the band, it's at Chasing Heroes on Instagram. Um, you can also find it Chasing Heroes on Facebook. Our Instagram is more active. right now at the moment, but you'll still find us there. Find us on Spotify, all streaming platforms, Bandcamp, to stream the single "Empty Cages." The response so far has been absolutely overwhelming from the analytics. Yeah, we're totally excited. So yeah, just check us out. Hope you dig it. It's honest. It's just punk rock with honesty and raw emotional vocals.
I love it.
Yeah, it's I don't know what else to say. I hate talking and like being a salesman about this stuff. I just like
It's
doing
okay.
music, Shona. I'm not good at this stuff. Even though I ramble, I think I rambled so much because I'm nervous. But I don't know.
No,
This
I
isn't my
love
element.
this. You and I we're talking, and I'm glad that we got to have this talk, because usually we're in there grinding away on the music, and we really got to just reflect on everything, which I'm really happy about. And I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to me today. And I'm definitely going to have you on again.
Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here again on my show, Talk with Shauna. Thanks everybody for watching. And before I go, I just want to say, always let the music live through you.
Hi friends, I'm Courtney. I'm a performer, speaker, and a writer. I'm a mama to 3 crazy boys and a super sweet dog. I decided 12 years ago that I needed to create a business that worked for me instead of me working for it. I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur who may be considered a serial entrepreneur by some, but then I realized that all of my businesses focused on connection, community, and creating an incredible experience. I cannot wait to share with you how to make small but mighty changes in your life to affect your overall well-being and create a life and business you want to get up in the morning for. That's right, my friends. I am the Renaissance Mama. Hi friends, it's me, Courtney, the Renaissance Mama. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy day to check out the show. And if you haven't done so already, I ask that you find me wherever you find me on podcasts or shows or anything like that, and just leave me a little review. Or maybe there's someone that you think would absolutely love the show. If you could share it, I would greatly appreciate that. Okay, friends, so today I am breaking one of my rules. I am talking about one of those buzzwords that drives me insane. And I know I've told you before, there's certain words that just really bother me. And they bother me because I find people use them so often that the meaning starts kind of not making sense, or there's so many different meanings of one word, or that people use them sometimes as an excuse. So today I am chatting all about imposter syndrome and how, if you think you have it or a version of it or even a little inkling of it, how you can overcome it. So I want to throw it out there that I am definitely not an expert. And I think what we're going to be chatting about today is probably the version of imposter syndrome that a lot of people just use. I work with a lot of busy parents, moms in particular, business owners, and it is a common thread. I hear it so often, just slip out of somebody's mouth that I have imposter syndrome. I have imposter syndrome. And I think that's why that rage comes when I talk about it, because it is one of those buzzwords that like have a lot of meaning behind it, but depending on how someone's using it, it might not be exactly what they meant to say. So let me give you, first of all, the definition of imposter syndrome. It says imposter syndrome is the condition of feeling anxious and not experience success internally, despite being high performing in external objective ways. The condition often results in people feeling like a fraud or a phony and doubting their abilities. That's where I think I want to really work through today. That feeling of someone feeling like a fraud or feeling like a phony, because that's where I think so many people, when they're using that word imposter syndrome, that's what they mean, that they feel like they are going to get caught. They feel like they're not exactly who they said they were, or they just have that anxiety around that, or self-doubt. First of all, can we please just even acknowledge the fact that the word imposter itself sounds a little bit overdramatic? I feel like I'm in like a British play and someone just calls out, "And she is the imposter." That is what I think of every time I hear that word. So the word itself, I don't even want to give much validity to, because come on, in itself it feels like it's trying to be over dramatic and fake and just over the top. So if you think about it that way, I think I've already taken the power away from that word, but we'll hop into it a little bit more. The reality is imposter syndrome can affect anybody, but it usually affects women. I had this conversation the other day with a friend of mine who is a writer, and she is constantly just putting out her work, submitting articles. She has had a lot of success in some very popular magazines and online websites, but the reality is she gets a lot of rejection. So she puts her hard work into these articles, sends it out there, and then a lot of the times, more often than not, she gets, "I'm sorry, but we can't take your article right now." And she feels disappointed. And she says there's always this moment when she's about to submit an article, or she looks at something she could submit and thinks, "Ooh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't feel like this is for me. I feel like I'm kind of an imposter here." But what she realized is that a lot of her counterparts who happened to be male were not feeling that same self-doubt. They weren't questioning their abilities. They were, in fact, submitting articles to everywhere, like 2 times and sometimes 3 times the amount of articles that she was submitting, because they didn't care about the rejection. Some of them had already decided in their heads, okay, whatever, if I'm rejected, fine, go to the next one, go to the next one, go to the next one. And they were playing this numbers game of, I'll just submit to all of these things, even if it's not really my niche, even if I'm not really the person they need, you never know. Whereas here, my friend was really holding herself back because she would question it. She would, think about it. She would decide, oh, that's not for me. No. Instead of letting the magazine decide if she is the right fit. So I find more often than not, women in business in particular really get stuck in this imposter syndrome. So that's what we're chatting about today. Not only are we chatting about some of the reasons how it comes along, but how we can just get rid of it, because really it is not serving anybody. And I think once again, that's probably why it drives me nuts, because it hurts my heart when I hear these fabulous people say like, "Oh, I feel like I'm an imposter." And I just want to shake them and be like, you are not an imposter. You say you are what you are it. It can be a different level. Like if I go out to the world and say, I'm a performer, which I in my heart believe I am, because I've studied to be a performer. I've performed lots of places, but let's be honest, I haven't done it in a little while. Do I feel like I'm an imposter? No, I feel like I am someone who, this is what I believe I am. This is something that I do. I take those aspects of being a performer and it's sprinkled everywhere in my life. So I'm not going to tell you the whole story of what I performed in last or what show or this or that or what I've auditioned for, because that's not everyone's business. So see how there's a fine line of like, okay, I'm doing this now. This is what I am. This is what people need to know. We don't need to share everything with everybody, but we also really need to believe in ourselves and what we can do. So some of the reasons why people even experience this imposter syndrome, I think that's a great place to start. Once again, I'm totally not an expert and I'm not trying to be, but here's some of the things I've seen and I've learned. So one of the biggest reasons I find people fall into that category or believing themselves to be an imposter is self-limiting beliefs. So this might usually goes back to your family and when you were growing up and things that you may have heard, things that they may have believed that now you believe. And these could be things that you don't even know are in your head and in your body. And really, these are some of the things that might be affecting you when you're making decisions or when you feel that anxiety of like, ooh, I don't know if I can do this. So think back of when you were a child and your family and your upbringing, and are there any things that you're like, ooh, I remember my family always saying this, or I remember my family always doing this, or do you start noticing patterns or habits of things that you're doing because you're kind of thinking back to that family? I know for me, I've shared it before, but I 100% have limiting beliefs when it comes to money. And I know it doesn't serve me, and it's taken me quite a long time to really take away the guilt from spending money, realize that money is a tool that I can use to, put into myself and what I want to do in life. And I don't have to feel bad about that. And also that money is a renewable resource. I don't have to think it as something that's so sacred that will never come back, that I have to hold on to dear life, because that's what I did as a kid. I was the kid that got birthday money and saved it, but then didn't know when to spend it, or I would get a gift that I loved so much that I was worried to use it, that I wouldn't use it. And then it would get to the point where I no longer was interested or that I cared about it that much. So I almost missed that window of opportunity. So think back in your family or how you grew up. Maybe there's things there, then that's what's really kind of pushing you towards these thoughts of thinking that you may be an imposter. Another reason that you may be thinking that you may be an imposter is sometimes social pressures. Maybe the crowd you are hanging out with right now are in a different space, different level of entrepreneurship. If you're hanging out with other entrepreneurs, that can be very intimidating. But whenever I find myself in that kind of space and I think, oh my goodness, I shouldn't be here, I stop and I think, wait a second, all of these people have been where I am. So instead of thinking I'm not at their level, let me say how I can get there. Maybe I can chat with them. Maybe I can ask them some questions. Maybe I can learn something just from observing them. So look at your social situations. Are you hanging out with people that not only are a few steps ahead of you, but are at your level? Because both are incredibly beneficial, right? Having that person who's at your same level to communicate back and forth is amazing. When I first started my businesses, I say businesses because you know me, I had multiple, and none of my friends were an entrepreneur. It was hard to be like, hey, I'm having this issue. Hey, I'm trying to do this. Hey, I'm trying to do that. You need support, you need community, you need to find your people. Same as when I first became a parent. None of my friends had children. And I was at a loss. I was feeling all these new things. I was sleep deprived. I couldn't even relate to some of my friends that I had known for so many years. So I got myself into a mommy baby group, and never did I walk in there and think, I don't belong there. Cause I'm like, hey, wait, I got a baby, so I belong here. It might take me a while to figure out my version of me within this community, but I think you can do that. Another thing that really pops up when you're feeling like an imposter, it's this sense of belonging. We all want to be accepted. We all want to feel like we are doing a good job. We all want people to be like, yes, that person is great, right? So I think there's always this fear that if I'm doing something and someone thinks, oh, Courtney, you're not really a podcaster, right? Like, I don't want to be caught. I don't want to be found out. And that's where I keep thinking of that British, you imposter. I keep going back to that. But there's this sense of belonging that just everybody wants in life, right? We want to be successful. We want to be happy. We want other people to say we're doing a good job. So that might be a reason why you're feeling a little bit like, oof, I don't know if I should be here. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I don't know if I fit in. It's because you're looking for that sense of belonging. And then one of the last things I want you to think about, if you are feeling that, you're going through some imposter feelings, it might be your personality. And I mentioned before how I find women definitely fall more into this category. Or maybe, you know what? Maybe they're just more willing to talk about it. Maybe they're more willing to admit it, right? But I find different personalities are definitely more prone to feeling those feelings of being an imposter. So that could be something as well. If you think about, how do I normally approach life? How do I normally, take in situations or adapt, or how do I normally do all these things? If you notice your personality is one that already is a little bit anxious, already is kind of, really on alert, really trying to read other people's actions or how they are responding, then you might be somebody who is a little bit more prone to feeling those imposter syndrome feelings. I was with a group of friends the other day and I had this aha moment of realization of the reality of how personalities are just so different. This good friend of mine, and good friend, like we hang out all the time and just have a great time and have a blast. She was saying that after we all hang out and have this great time, she goes back home and replays in her head the conversations that had transpired. She does this all the time. She thinks about who said what. Did she really mean that? Did I really mean that? She replays the whole thing in her head and then kind of gets anxious about was that the right thing to say? Oh, I hope I didn't offend somebody. Oh, I didn't do this. And I looked at her when she told me this and it just blew my mind because I do not do that at all. I love my people and I love spending time with them. And if anything, I think about that was such a great night. We had such a good time. We laughed so hard. I don't even remember what we laughed about it, but it was so good. But here, her personality goes home and dissects everything. So there definitely are different personalities that are more prone to feeling those feelings of being an imposter. Okay, so we've talked about kind of what this imposter syndrome is. We've talked about why it happens, different things we can look for. Now I want to talk about how we can just say goodbye to it because it is not serving you. It is not serving you at all. And I just don't think it needs to even be in your vocabulary. So one of the first things you can do to really kick imposter syndrome's butt is you need to start celebrating your achievements. Whether they are super tiny, whether they're huge, I want you to celebrate. And not only just celebrate for yourself, that is very, very important, but celebrate it and share it and bring people in on the celebration. How many times have you had a goal for yourself or even just, wanted to do something and you did it and you're like, okay, great. Now what's the next thing? You didn't even take a moment to really stop and be like, I did it. Oh my God, I did it. This is amazing. You just went on to the next thing because that's kind of how we are working right now in our society is what's next? But we don't have the time to stop and just really celebrate it. So that could look different for everybody. I've heard of people having a celebration journal. Maybe it's your celebration journal. Maybe it's your gratitude journal. Maybe you are just sharing something you've done with your friends. Send them a text message. Be like, hey, guess what I did today? Oh my goodness. Take a picture, put it out on social. I love it when I post something on social and all of a sudden these people are like, congrats, oh my God, that's amazing. And I'm like, it is? it is, right? Like you forget sometimes how awesome what you're doing is. So celebrate it with your people. Take the moment. I know a lot of business owners, parents, anybody that when they set a goal, not only do they set a goal, they set themselves a reward. Maybe it's getting your nails done. Maybe it's taking an afternoon off. Maybe it is, I don't know, but you can create what works for you. So start fitting that into your life because you need to take the times to celebrate. I often think of myself as, coming from the lens of a parent. I am the parent, well, I think most parents are, that I will chat with you all day about how incredible my boys are. If they do something that I am proud of, which is quite often, I am telling people, I'm telling them stories, I'm posting pictures, I'm doing all of the things. But it gets a little bit hard when you're talking about yourself. So can you find ways to really celebrate your achievements, small, big ones, all those in between, and bring your community in while you do it? The next thing I want you to do when you start getting those imposter syndrome thoughts, and this one's hard, you need to reframe those thoughts. I know, it sounds so simple. But the next time you either walk into a networking event and think, oh my goodness, I shouldn't be here. Reframe that thought. I used the example before, what if instead of I said I shouldn't be here, I walked in and said, what can I learn from here? Who can I talk to? Who can I share what I do with, right? Just put yourself out there and reframe those thoughts. Every time you're thinking, oh, I'm not sure if I can do this, what if you change it and thought, what if I can do this? Or what is the end result, why I'm doing this? We always chat about going back to your why, but that's because when you get those thoughts that make you unsure, or if this is worth it, or the hard times, if your why is strong and you know why you're doing what you're doing, you'll be able to push through. You'll be able to move mountains and make it happen. I was listening to a podcast the other day and it was really inspiring because there was this woman, she's a business owner, she's absolutely fantastic. She's been very, very successful, but she said, hey, if somebody told me at the beginning of this journey how hard it was going to be, how many ups and downs, how many times I would fail and get back up again, she said I wouldn't have done it. I would have stayed in my 9-to-5 job. I would have gotten by and I wouldn't have done it. And even the podcast host was like, oh, wow, you were so honest. I appreciate that. But I think that's it. There's so many times that if we let those negative thoughts take over, we might never do things. Whereas then we get to not even the end, but we get to the success, we get to the good stuff. And sometimes the good stuff could be bigger than we've ever thought. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh my goodness, this was worth it. Thank goodness we did it. But if you waited too long on those what ifs or those negative thoughts, then it might never have happened. So really next time you get those negative thoughts, I want you to reframe it. Think, what can I learn? What can I do? Really start, instead of saying, what you can't do, know what you can do. Know what you bring to the table. Know why you are unique. I just did an episode how you guys can stand out in a crowd. And that was one of the lessons, is you need to know what makes you so special, because that's what's going to make people notice. Whether it's in social media, whether it's in a conversation, whether it's a product you're selling, you need to know what makes you different. The next thing I want you to do when you start feeling any of those imposter syndrome thoughts is you need to embrace continuous learning. You need to take on the self-development and roll with it. And that can look so different in so many ways. That is the reality of that concept of imposter syndrome, is that you feel like you don't know something. You feel like you are not confident in your ability. Well, then how do you prove that you are? Learn more. figure it out. There are so many ways you guys can learn for free, or if you got some money, put your money where your mouth is. Invest in yourself. One of my greatest accomplishments was in the past few years when I finally put money in myself and my business and what I wanted to do. It was no longer just a side thing, and I'm still working towards some of my big goals, but it was because I put money into myself and into my learning and into all of those things. So I couldn't feel like an imposter because I was like, wait a second, I have the knowledge. I know what is happening. One of my first times I was chatting with somebody about my podcast and my show, and it was very new at the time. I knew exactly what it was because I had taken those lessons and I had taken the time to really understand what I was trying to do, what I wanted to be, what the vision was. There was no I don't know, I'm unsure. I was super clear, and I don't think I would have had that if I didn't invest in myself. So always find ways to continuously learn and develop. That's probably my biggest takeaway from being an entrepreneur is I love the self-development. And I balance it a lot in between books, podcasts, webinars. I balance it between some free stuff. I balance it between some paid stuff. And I really just absorb it all. And if I do find myself in a situation where I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I can talk about that today when I'm doing the show even, is that a topic I really want to share about? Then I stop and I take my time and I do my research. I have a show coming up that I think you guys are gonna love about something that's really hot right now, AI. And I was ready to put it together almost, but not quite yet. So I'm going to take the time to do a little bit more research, to chat with a little bit more experts, and then get all my info ready for you. Rather than saying, oh, I can't do that. That's not me. I don't know that. I decided to go the route of let's learn, and then I'm ready to take on whatever challenge it may be. So continuous learning, that is a huge way to combat that imposter syndrome. The next thing you need to do, and this one might just come as of course you need to do that, Courtney, but you need to give yourself some compassion, right? You need to realize that you can do all the things you said you're gonna do, but you might not be there quite yet. You also need to give yourself that time, I'm using one of those words again, to provide yourself with that self-care that is going to help you rejuvenate and is going to help you build your confidence, right? We've talked about it before. I have a show that recently just came out all about taking that time for yourself, because if you haven't taken time for yourself, then you are gonna feel more vulnerable. You're gonna feel a little burnt out. So then those feelings of I don't know if I can do this, any of that anxiety, it's gonna be more prevalent because you've let it in. You don't want to let it in, but when you're not at your full confidence, you got to find that time to slow down and take those moments. Do those things that make you happy. Do those things that connect you back to, like I said before, why you do what you do. Do those things to really remind you what it is you're doing. I had an email the other day from a client for my new course that I've told you I've been having some struggles really sharing it out there. It's this amazing at-home course, and I'm finding what's having a hard time, and I've told you guys before, is having a hard time really explaining to people what it is. So they automatically think it's something else, and they're like, nope, I don't want it. So I have some new clients coming in, and one of the other struggles I was finding is because it is pre-recorded, is I send it out to these people, and then I'm trying to get feedback. I'm asking them questions. I'm sending them other things. But sometimes I'm getting nothing back. So it's hard to know what I can do when I'm not getting the feedback back. Well, all of a sudden, I got an email back from one of my new clients. They've recently taken the course. They're doing it with their kiddo. They are loving it. And she sent me the most amazing email. all about what the course is doing for her kid, how much she loves it, like everything. And I was just like, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for opening up that communication, but thank you for letting me know, because that's what I want, right? Like I want this course to be able to help kids of all abilities learn musical theater, because I know those skills. I know how incredible they are. I know how they can be used in everyday life. So to have this person like actually respond back to me and tell me how much this course is meaning to her, it was incredible. So you've got to start those communications. And once you have them, like once again, now I have that email up on my wall. So while I'm doing my work, while I'm feeling like, ooh, I don't know if this is right, I look at that email and I think, yeah, I am on the right path. I am doing the right things because this is what I wanted and it's happening. Okay, it's only one person at a time, but that's how it starts. One person goes to many, to many, to many. Like, I know it is what I knew it was in my heart. So to have that validation, I am using it and I'm going with it. But if ever you feel like it's not happening, you've got to give yourself that grace and that compassion and that time to recharge, so then you can come back at it another way. Maybe there's something else you can do. Maybe there's another, something you haven't tried yet. Maybe there is another course you can take that would really help you move those next steps. So give yourself compassion, because I hate the saying, but Rome was not built in a day. And I'm definitely one of those people that like want to do it and want to do it now. And I want things to grow big now, and I want things to happen big now. But I know things take time. So it's definitely something I am learning and I am getting through. So the last two things I want you to do, and I'm going to put them together because I think they just support each other, is I want you, and I've said it before, I want you to really know what makes you different and what makes you unique. So you have to be so clear with that. And if you haven't done that, all it sometimes needs is like a brainstorm of just writing all the things down that makes what you do unique, what makes you different. So when you walk into that room of like, ooh, should I be here? You're like, yes, I should, because I'm bringing this to the table that makes me so unique and so incredible. That one is very, very important. And then the next thing you really need to go do, and we've talked about it before, but I want you to visualize that person that you are trying to be. You're not an imposter. But what's that version of you that you want to be? Like, what do they sound like? What are they wearing? What do they eat? What does their morning look like? What does their day look like? What is your perfect vision? And if you're visual like me, then maybe you're making a vision board and you're having it up there and you're having those constant reminders of like, remember, this is what you want. So you can't be an imposter if that's your version of you that you want to get to. You're just not there quite yet. You're not a fake. You're not a phony. No one's going to call you out. But if you're not clear of what that version of you is, you need to take the time to do that. And once again, that might just be a big like brain dump of writing all the things you would really, really want. Could be anything. There's no, don't cross off the list already. Just write it all down, all of the things you want. Write down what that version of you looks like and how that success feels. Like when you wake up in the morning, what does that feel like? And I want you to be so clear with it, because like I said before, you can then take steps to that version of you. And it sounds kind of gitchy, and it sounds kind of like, Courtney, it can't be that easy. If the version of me is this and I'm here, I don't know. I feel like if you have the power to keep adding those little steps, all of a sudden you will be at that version of you. All of a sudden you'll be like, oh, here I am. And then you are going to celebrate it, and you're going to share it, and you're going to bring in your community of people and be so successful. I know it. Okay, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode today. And I would love to hear from you on the website or on my socials. So website is therenaissancemama.com. You can find me on Instagram at Courtney Renaissance Mama. And I would love to hear from you. Have you ever felt like you were an imposter? Maybe it was in business. Maybe it was in friends. Maybe it was in, I don't know. But have you ever felt it, and what did you do to get over it? Or maybe you didn't. Maybe you turn around. Maybe you said, no, thank you. I can't do this. I hope that's not the case. I hope it for all of you, because I know how incredible you all are, and I know what you can do. So that's it for now. I will see you later. Bye for now, friends. Hey, this is Courtney from The Renaissance Mama, but today I have the very special treat of hosting The Blaze, and we are so excited to be here. So as you all know, here's Shauna. Shauna, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. I am presenting my new look to the world today with my glasses, which I'm very proud to wear today. And thanks for having me on the show. Glad to be back.
God. Always love Shauna on the show. And we have a new friend. Her name is Veronica. And I'm going to let her tell you guys a little bit about herself. But I have been dying to have Veronica on the show. So I'm just so excited she's here. Say hello to Veronica.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Courtney. Hi, Shauna. Thank you so much for having me on today. So excited to be here. Okay, number one, really squirrely. So I'll try to keep it really short, but I'm a mom to three. They're 4, 6, and 8. I'm very passionate about mental health and well-being. I feel like I am sipping my way to wellness, and I do work full-time in the mental health sector as well. And also on the side, my husband and I have a podcast called Life Is, where we're actually high school sweethearts. So it's really just our kitchen conversations about, everything that we think about life and what it is for us.
I love that so much. And can I ask, was your husband on board right away, or was this like a negotiation situation? I love my husband and he is very outspoken, but I think if I was like, hey, let's do the show, he'd be like, no.
You know what? This is his dream, actually. And I hopped on board to his dream. So he has been on like this personal development and wellness journey as well. And so podcast really resonated with him. And he was like, we have so many great conversations. Why don't we start a podcast? And so we actually started it on our dating anniversary, is what we said back in December. But it's actually his dream. And he had all these topics like that he wanted to talk about. So yeah, it was more me hopping on board with him, believe it or not.
That is so fun. And do you find like the ideas just come easily, or do you find some weeks are easier than others?
So he apparently started a list of like things that he wanted to talk about, mostly again, like things that would pop up. Like we both work from home. Sadly, don't really see each other throughout the day though. It's just how life works, right? But sometimes, we'd have like this topic, or he'd come down and talk about something, and then we get into this conversation and just sharing like those little tidbits that might resonate with everybody. So there are usually things that will happen like in our life, like an event or something that prompted a conversation. And sometimes now, actually, because we have the podcast, he's like, whoa, wait, we can't get into it too much. Like we have to record. So
I do that when I have guests on too. Sean, I don't know about you. When I have a guest on, I literally like say 1 or 2 words, then I'm like, we got to record, because I don't want to lose the magic or whatever it is. Like I want to hear it as we're filming. So I'm just like, let's go ahead and do it.
That's so true. It's like you're hearing it for the first time in that reaction. You want to see that reaction right to the first hearing it. So that makes complete sense. It really does. Mm-hmm.
Shauna, what about you? When you think of your show ideas, where do you get them? Where do you get your inspiration?
A lot of them, well, first of all, my show is Talk with Shauna here on the network, and I predominantly talk about music. And so whatever project I'm doing, whoever I'm working with, that's usually the first people that I will go to, like the person producing my album or the people doing my videos, that kind of thing. And so it's always something that I'm working on that I'm coming in contact with. It's really funny how it works. Even running into people at school and us talking and them saying, oh, I have a blog, or I'm into music. And then it ends up turning into an interview, and it's just really authentic that way, how it works. That's usually how it goes for me anyway.
I love that. I'm kind of the same too. I have my mega list and I'm always adding to it. I find like best ideas happen when I'm like running or in the shower, just how it is. And then I also, though, I kind of like wait, like I can feel it. If there's a subject that I like hop on and then I'm like, I'm not loving this. I'll stop and then I'll start again and like find something else that like really is calling to me. So it's just so funny. Well, as you ladies know, June 21st is the summer solstice. So I was just thinking, like, what does summer solstice mean to you? Shauna, I'll start with you.
Well, I am a big fan of the sun. I know it's kind of a weird thing, but I am. Actually, my dad named me after the sun. That's where my name came from, Shauna. So he named me after the sun shining. And so that's always been a big thing for me. And I try to use that with anything I do, with my music, my life, everything. And I try to really bring a positive attitude to everyone around me. And so when it's summer solstice, it's like, this is like the time when we get the most sun, right? It really is. So for me, I feel pretty good about it. I'm like, that's really cool. I'm excited about that. And I think the sun is a beautiful thing. It's very healing. And I think we should all celebrate that because the sun is a very powerful thing. And it's deep for me, that's for sure. My dad would be proud that I'm mentioning that on the show right now.
I love that. That's so sweet. And I never even knew it. So I love that so much.
Yeah.
Veronica, what about you? What does it summer solstice mean to you?
Well, I love hearing where your name comes from now, Shauna. And I feel like that's so great because it's just like radiating sunshine and it's so lovely. And yeah, I mean, I know, summer solstice is the longest day of the year in a sense. So I feel like that has a really big impact on me just in terms of sunshine and daylight hours and all of that. And whenever there's like, I guess like those, like more sunlight or whatever it is, today actually, maybe coincidentally, I sat outside. I love morning sun. That's something for me. Like, I feel like it just hits different, but I actually sat outside on my porch for like a good, 10 minutes. And I was like, everyone should just do this more often. But I also know it's National Indigenous Peoples Day too. So I took some time, of course, to learn more about First Nation, Inuit, Métis as well, being where I am. So yeah.
Oh, so good. I love that you both said both of those things so naturally because they were like literally on the tip of my tongue. So it's absolutely amazing because I agree. Like for me, the summer solstice means like get your butt outside. And I just feel like as the summer is here, I'm like, I find ways to like get outside. Like, I'm like, oh, why am I reading my book inside at night? I am going out. Like last night, the dog was like, what's going on? It's bedtime. I'm like, we're heading outside. It got to the point where he actually like knocked on the door to go in. I'm like, okay, the dog's ready for bed now. I'll go in. But I agree. I try and get out there as much as possible. And I love that you mentioned how special this day is because I agree. I've been trying to do my research. I've been trying to, really understand all the things that happened. And I don't know if we ever will, to be honest. But it is so good that we're just having conversations, like so good. And like, I don't know about you ladies, I know your kids are a little bit younger than mine, but having those conversations with our kids and saying that like, we don't know all the answers. We don't know why or how some of these things could have happened, but just have an open sense of communication with everybody. So I love that so much.
Definitely.
Yeah. So also end of June in my head is just like that end of the school year. And I was in this conversation with a friend today, and I just said, I'm getting to this point where I'm really trying not to let the stress of the end of the school things get to me. And I'm trying to like be at all the places and do all the things and do my job and run my business. Like I'm just trying to do it all. And I'm trying to get better at being like, I'm sorry, but I can't handle certain things right now. So I said to my girlfriends, I was like, I'm not buying my kids teacher gifts this year. And I'm like, I just don't have the capacity to do it. And they both laughed and they're like, I wasn't even thinking about that. The other one's like, I haven't done it for years. So I just wondered where you ladies were at. Do you buy gifts for your kids' teachers?
You know what? So first of all, my kids are done tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
So
I've got a few more days. You are, good luck, my friend. Good luck.
I know. I don't know what happened. I feel like, with like our mental loads and everything, right? With everything that's happening all the time, with all the projects that we're doing, I feel like I thought about like end of the year teacher gifts like months ago. And then I feel like I woke up this morning and went, oh, like if I'm going to do something, it has to be today because tomorrow's the last day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we do typically do gifts, but now I keep hearing too, I'm an overthinker. I'm always like, I feel like I know what I want to give, but then I think like, do they want it? Are they going to use it? Is it going to collect dust? Like what is? And then ultimately I'm like, I need to just get out of my head. And I guess like the whole like just token of whatever it is, like even a thank you, I think really goes a long way. Just gratitude. The kids can give them hugs too, which I think like, also goes a long way. Like it doesn't have to be like I have to pick the perfect colored ribbon to go with the perfect gift or like what is perfect ultimately for the teachers. So, I mean, we are going to do a little something. Mostly, I think we're just doing gift cards because I think everyone loves gift cards is what I keep hearing. So that's it. Like, I'm not gonna, wrap everything super pretty or anything. It's just going to be a nice little thank you. And for our bus driver, we're also doing, because I feel like that's an important role in their life too.
Yes.
But yeah, very like, I wouldn't say like totally minimalistic, but a little something.
Nice. Shauna, what about you?
Well, I have one daughter, so I only have one child. So for me, I can fit it in and it's okay. And I find that I end up usually getting a gift for the teacher every year.
Yeah.
But I like that idea about the gift cards. I've never done the gift card thing. And I think that might be what I do this year because my daughter has a male teacher and I don't really know him and I'm not as close to him as I was with her teacher last year. So that might be a good idea. Just like get him like a Canadian Tire gift card or, something, right? Like, I don't know, or a gift card to anywhere, like one of those prepaid visas or something, you can use it on whatever. But I do like doing that. I really think it is important what they do and their support and everything. And I mean, if you can do it and you have time, I think that's great. And I do because I have one daughter, so I definitely do it. So that's what I'll be doing this year. I'll definitely be getting one, but she's not out until this Thursday coming. So I still have quite a bit more days.
Yeah,
But you said tomorrow. And then what, Courtney, when are your kids finished?
My kids are done on Wednesday, next Wednesday.
On Wednesday. Okay.
Few days, but I also have a very busy weekend. So I was just kind of like, I don't know where I'm at. I will say I teach kids musical theater and our show usually, we go from like September to February. So when it rolls around the holidays, I will say it is very sweet when some of them give me like a little gift for Christmas. And you're like, oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting this. And you're right, Veronica. Yeah. Like sometimes the best gifts are the ones where they make me like a handmade card or something. I'm just like, oh gosh, they're so sweet. Or I've got a few girls that are Girl Guides. So if they're going to throw Girl Guide cookies my way, I'm not saying no. Like it's definitely a good little gesture. So I love that. The other thing you could do, Shauna, too, is I've seen a lot is Amazon gift cards. Easy one. Cause who doesn't love an Amazon gift card? I feel like you're like, ooh, since it's a gift card, I can buy anything. I don't know. It feels more special. I don't know. That might just
true. And the benefit from that, you can get some really good deals on Amazon too. So like, that's a great combo. So I am duly noted.
I was going to say Prime days are apparently coming up. I got a notification today. So
Prime days are a little trouble in our house. My husband likes to go a little overboard with the Prime days. Like he won't buy like one Fire Stick. He'll be like 5. I'm like, what are you doing? What's going? Well, we need a new one. It's like, did we really? Like, I don't know about that, but actually, I still want to talk about gifts because my oldest is graduating grade 8. I'm having some issues. I'm not doing very well, but it is what it is. And I was thinking like, do I get him a gift? And then what would I get a 14-year-old boy? Like, I don't know. I'm not too sure what to do with that.
That's exciting. So he's going into another school now. So would that be considered high school yet or no?
Yeah, high school in the fall. Oh, I know. Yeah. Wow. It's pretty crazy. He's very excited. And it's been very interesting to see that like growth, not only physically, but like he is maturing so much in the past, I would say even 2 to 3 months. Like I honestly, a few months ago, I was like, oh my God, how is this kid going to go to high school? Because literally some days I'm like, oh, you do not seem old enough to do that. But he is very, very much maturing. So yes, he'll be going to high school in the fall. So I don't know, do I get him a little something or?
Oh, why not? Get him something. But what is a good question though? What would you get a
Right?
13-year-old? You said 14?
Yeah, he's 13, turning 14 in the fall. So I know.
That's a good question. I don't know. I have a daughter and I don't even know what 13, 14-year-old boys would be into at this point.
I know a friend said something about like getting him something engraved, but like, I know my son, he's going to lose it. So I don't know if that's the way to go. I will say we are hosting a grad party this weekend. So I feel like that might be my gift of like, hey, listen, I was the cool mom and hosted your party, but
that's a great idea. That's a great gift.
Also, I'm terrified of that as well. So we'll see how that goes. I might need to give everyone an update next week if I survive.
I'm going to want to know how that goes. We need to like, do a little recap of that.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
That is a busy
play by
weekend.
play for sure. Yeah.
That's a good gift though to host. That's to be like the house to have it at. But maybe on the last day you can just like even go somewhere, like do, I don't know. I don't know if 13-year-olds still like going for ice cream or so. I feel like my kids would be like, let's go for ice cream.
That's true. No, that's always a fan favorite in our household for sure. So I'll do a little something. Oh,
Speaking of ice cream, I have something really exciting to tell you ladies. Okay. So I'm originally from Nova Scotia. We're talking about ice cream here. So I always crave ice cream that's from there. And I found this place in Toronto that has Moon Mist, which is my favorite flavor of ice cream. I don't know if you've ever tried it, but it's from Nova Scotia. And this actual company shipped it in to this store here. And I found it and I was so excited. And I had it and I haven't had it for like 12 years or something. Like it was crazy. So I'm so excited to share that. And I got to get my daughter to have it too, because I've never taken her there. And I got to have her try it as well. So that was a really cool experience involving ice cream. So I had to share that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did it live up to your expectations?
It was exactly the same. It was a company.
Oh, it's exactly the same.
There. Yeah. Like I know the owner. We were talking about it. She's originally from there too. And she told me, the ice cream, I get it shipped in right from the same company that has it back there in Nova Scotia. And I was like, wow, awesome. I'm coming there and I'm going to get it right away. So if you can ever try Moon Mist, try it. It's really good.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's like a nice shared experience with your daughter. And I feel like also food, like there's so many like memories and like emotions that are sometimes tied to like those experiences too. Like sometimes it's not just ice cream. I reacted when you said that because actually there is like a local ice cream maker here and she like recreated her own version, I guess, of Moon Mist, and everyone just like went bananas for it. They were like Moon Mist. So everyone, I guess, from the East who are like Moon Mist.
Yeah, so, it's a big thing from back there. This is one of our discussions. We always talk about Moon Mist because you can't find it anywhere else. But so it was a great time. If you can try it, I tell you to go. It's actually at the Junction. It's in the Junction area of Toronto, and it's called Ice Cream Junction. So if you can go there and you want to check it out, there you go.
Can you give me like a recap of what Moon Mist may taste like?
Yeah,
Sell it to me. Share it.
It's heaven. It's heaven on home. It really is. Okay, so it actually, I see a color here, the green in the background. Okay, one of the shades is green. So it's got banana, and it's got grape flavor, and it's got the bubble gum. I think, the bubble gum ice cream flavor in there too. So it's all those flavors mixed together, and it's heaven. It's so good. So if you can try it, I highly recommend.
All right. Well, I may have to put it on my bucket list now. I have to go check it out. Question for you ladies is I was having a conversation with a friend the other day and she's like, oh, how are your boys? Are they excited for the end of the year? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's been a struggle to get them out the door. And she said her child is the opposite, that he's like so upset about the end of the year and he gets really anxious and he's like an only kiddo. So he's just like, ew, summer. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's great. Like it's never in my head I mean, I remember as a kid kind of being like, oh, I'm going to miss my friends and being upset about that. But like, yeah, I just kind of wondered, like, how do your kids feel about like end of the school year and going into summer?
You know, it was really interesting because I think we had a countdown just a couple days ago. And my husband and I were like, oh, there's only like 3 days left or something. And my daughter, our oldest, had the same reaction. She was like, no, she literally said, no. And we looked at each other. We were like, oh, like we weren't really expecting that reaction. But I think it's because she thrives so much. Like she loves routine.
Yes.
She's one that really loves school. She loves her friendships. And she even said out loud, she was like, I'm going to miss my friends. Even though we have things planned throughout the summer, right? Like there's camps and she knows that she's going to see them. But I think it's just that aspect of like, there's such a big chunk of her day that's there that she seems to really enjoy. So it was odd, but I guess we took it as like a good thing that like she's having a great time at school. So that's good. But we were always like, school's out. Like if you can picture like the throwing paper in the air kind of thing, right? So yeah, so that was a really mixed, I guess, like reaction in that sense for us.
Really? Well, that's good that they want to go. I mean, that's important, right? Like, I know my daughter, she's like the hardest person to get out the door to actually get there. But then once she's there and she's socializing, then I can't get her out of there. Like, you know, it's sort of the opposite. But I think she's excited. My daughter is, because she's going to be in camps with her best friends. And so she's just like waiting for that to happen, because she can spend like an extra hour every day with them now. Then, you know, these camps go until 4, some of them. So she'll be with them an extra hour. So it's like, she's gung ho about it. Right. So, and I'm excited about it almost being done too, because I'm just like, okay, come on, let's get with the summer now. Let's enjoy, let's do our thing kind of thing. So that's where I'm at for that. How about you, Courtney?
Yeah, my boys are pumped. They're excited. I'm excited to see kind of what happens this summer as they are getting a little bit older and bigger. It's going to look different. So I think I'll have to like be more aware with the youngest one. Doesn't really make his own plans, whereas the other two kind of just like whoosh, gone. Like I'm like, oh, hey, oh yeah, all right. So I think with him, I'll just have to be really aware to like make sure I am like setting up play dates and like organizing things and whatever, just because he like, and he just loves it. Like he's so easy to please. And yeah, they're so pumped about this summer. We're also really, really pumped. I know about you ladies, but I love myself a good old summer BBQ. So I was wondering, who loves a good BBQ and what's your favorite thing to put on the barbecue?
Well, I love barbecues, to be honest with you. I think it's one of the easiest things to do in the summer. I love it. You can pretty much put anything on a barbecue. You really can. I'll put my corn on there. I'll put my, like, as I said before, my fish tacos. I'll do my fish on there. Hamburgers, burgers, anything. You could put anything on there. Take eggplant, lay it on there, like whatever you want.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, but I did talk about this before on one of their shows. I do love fish tacos and I'm a big fan of those. So I'm probably going to do those a lot this summer. That and just like, you know, the normal kind of barbecue stuff. Hamburgers, hot dogs, boom, right? Like that's what I'll be doing for sure. I like pizza on there too. Tastes good on there too. Mm-hmm.
Veronica, what about you?
Well, Sean, I feel like we need to talk about your fish taco barbecue recipe at some point, because I love fish tacos. I have not put fish on the barbecue yet because I feel like it's one of those things that it would just all fall down between like the grate for me. Yeah. Although I think it was probably on Instagram or something. Someone shared a tip of like using an onion to like scrub down your grates before and it makes it nonstick. I don't know. I need to try that out. But I feel like smelling barbecue just like is summer to me. Like I love when I walk down and I'm like, oh, someone's barbecuing. I need to figure out where that is and like go to their backyard. I just love a good like classic burger though. I feel like is my favorite thing to just have on the barbecue.
Do you ladies know what the Blackstone grill is?
No.
Blackstone.
Oh my God. So it's like next level and it's like better than a barbecue. It's pretty much like a grill like restaurants have. So we have one, all of our friends have one. There are so many amazing like TikTok accounts that share Blackstone recipes, but I will tell you, Veronica, one of our favorite things to do are the smash burgers on the Blackstone. You just need a little salt and pepper, and you literally like smush them, and they are just delicious. And it's like, it's seasoned by everything else that was already on there. You don't even clean it at the end. You like wipe it down, and you just put oil, continue to put oil on it. But why I love it is you can cook a whole meal on the Blackstone at one time. Like breakfast in the mornings takes me like 5 minutes for tons of people. I can do pancakes, eggs, toast, bacon, all on the thing, all at once. And it's like absolutely amazing. And so that's what I use all summer. And it's like, I would say it's better than barbecue because it just has this like seasoning to it. So even things that you're like, I don't know if that'd be that good, like green beans, asparagus, any vegetable on the Blackstone is like it's like candy. It's like caramelized. Like I don't even know, but Blackstone.
Wow, that sounds yummy. Okay, I don't know what you guys, but I'm ready to eat now. I'm hungry.
I know.
I know. Oh, I know. We shouldn't have started. It is, yeah, I shouldn't have started talking.
Can you see my reaction? I'm like, I'll be right back. I'm going to go Google this and buy one like immediately. Forget Amazon Prime. I'm going for the Blackstone barbecue.
You want the Blackstone. It's absolutely amazing. And like I said, my husband's a little bit extra. So we have got the whole little side kitchen and all the other things. You don't need all that stuff. You need the old school Blackstone, and it's absolutely.
Is it like a flat top? Like,
but
is that
what the whole thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
my
that's
life
perfect.
has changed.
You're not going to be dropping anything in or anything, right? Like it's all there.
You drop nothing. It's all there. It's like I said, it's so easy to use. I love it. So.
Gosh,
Cool.
I feel like my summer is about to change now.
Yeah.
It will. I honestly like, we used to like love the barbecue. We used to love the smoker. We still do, but the Blackstone is just so easy and so delicious. Like you're never like, oh, this didn't turn out very good. Whereas like, I feel like I can screw up if I'm the barbecue or the smoker. Trust me, it's happened before, but Blackstone, I can't screw up. It's like, it's good to go. Like it's foolproof. I love it.
Amazing. It's great.
So I don't know. I don't really want to talk. Oh yes.
Like, the pizza ovens. So ones you can get outside, those are awesome too.
Oh, we got one of those too, but we're not going to talk about that. I know.
Okay.
My husband's extra. I told you that's how I describe him now. All right. One more food talk and then we got to move on because you're right. My stomach is starting to growl. But do you have any of like your favorite summer salads that you just like love to have?
Well, I love to make a nice potato salad. I'm a big potato salad fan. So I like to do that. I put like bacon and dill and like a bunch of different things like sun-dried tomatoes and like make it into a big thing. I love that. The taste of a cold potato salad on a summer day is just amazing for me. And then of course a moon mist for dessert later, and then we're good.
She's like, I'm gonna throw in the moon mist.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't have a favorite right now. I would say I just love anything with like fresh herbs and like anything that's in there. I am a fan of cilantro, so I don't know if I'm gonna like lose people on that one or not. People either love it or they hate it, right? But I love cilantro. I don't know why. I just feel like it's so fresh, or like fresh mint. So I usually will cook up like a batch of, let's say, like quinoa or wild rice. And then I usually like throw that, I feel like, in a good salad. And cucumber is usually a staple in summer salads for me.
I love that. Do you know my friend does not like cucumber? I think it's such a strange vegetable not to like. Like, I'm like, really? Out of all the vegetables, how do you not like cucumber? I feel like he's just the easy peasy going guy. You gotta love him.
Wow. Yeah. My daughter doesn't like cucumber now, probably because I gave her cucumber so many times in her lunch. She's just like, no, mommy, I'm not going to have any more cucumber, but I feel like she'll come back to it eventually.
Oh yeah.
There's just like a little bit of overdoing it there. Yeah.
I
don't understand either. Cucumber's
You know what we did? We spiralized cucumber. So apparently in different shape, I feel like it tastes different. The kids love it. Like they get obsessed with it sometimes, but only like in spurts, right? It's like you buy all the bananas, they love bananas, and they won't touch bananas for like a month. So I feel like we changed the shape and they're like, oh, I love cucumber noodles now.
That's a good idea.
That is a brilliant idea. I love that. How you trick your children. Good idea.
I'm taking notes from this episode. I'm just telling you.
I know. Did you ladies hear about this crazy story happening right now with the people who went in a submarine? They went down to go where the Titanic wreckage was, and now the submarine's lost. It's like big news right now, which means the Titanic is now like blowing up, trending on everything because of this news. And of course, there's only so much air in the submarine. So it's like this race of time to try and save these people. And like, I don't know, I was having this conversation with my kids last night. Like, this is terrifying. Like, that seems like such a horrible way to go. Like, it just was like, so I'm like, I hope they find them. I hope I don't even know how things, something like, how do you lose a submarine? Like, that just seems like, I don't know. Did you hear about the story though?
Yeah, I know, I didn't do any of my own research on it, but I had a friend that told me about it. And I was like, are you kidding me? That's crazy. And then she was saying they each had to pay $300,000 to go on this trip for the, I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then I think they said they have like, what, 48 hours left of oxygen or something. So now they're like, they have to find them in that amount of time.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
I know.
I can't even imagine what that would be like. That would be so crazy.
I know.
Have you heard anything further? I haven't heard anything since then.
The last article I was reading was that they, because it's something like a Canadian heard something or found it. So they're on the hunt for it for sure, but they still haven't found them. Except it's funny because the last article I read, they upped the amount of time they thought they had left in the breathing air. So I'm hoping that is the case. Maybe there was misinformation originally and they have a backup plan. But yeah, I don't know how, first of all, how you lose a submarine or how any of that works, but it kind of got me thinking into like fears and whether some certain fears are like irrational or very rational. But like, I think for me, like thinking of being stuck in a submarine and not being able to breathe, I was like, oh my God, that is terrifying. So I don't feel like I'm claustrophobic, but then when I hear that story, I feel like, oh my God, that would be absolutely horrific. So then I was just kind of wondering, do you ladies have any fears, rational or irrational? Veronica, I'll start with you. What do you think? Do you have any fears that you're like, oh yeah, this is me?
Well, right off the top, I don't know why, but like, I can't think of anything like, except like there's the irrational one sometimes where I'm like, I don't really like moths, but anyways, that's really random. So like, if I see a moth, I'm like, oh my gosh, but I mean, like, yeah, anything associated with like death and stuff like that, like I would never go. I think like bungee jumping. Sometimes I can be afraid of the dark. It depends on context, like how close I am to a light source in a sense. But this is going all over the place. I feel like we went from like bugs to darkness to all sorts of things. But I think like one thing that I've learned over the past couple years too is just how to like get out of my head in a sense sometimes with things like that. So we read actually a really good kids book. I learned a lot of things from kids books. And we read a really good kids book and it was about like worries and how there's like spinning worries and then healthy worries, which are kind of like, I guess, on the same wavelength of fears in a sense.
Huh.
But yeah, so that was like I just love that book so much. So sometimes when like I get really scared, okay, maybe I should tell a little bit of a story. We went to Costa Rica and we stayed in this Airbnb that was like on this farm. So it was like pretty like rural, like there wasn't much around and the walls were super thin. So you could hear like everything, like come nighttime, like the sun was setting and all of a sudden the sun was setting. And I was like, all of a sudden got super freaked out about it. And I actually thought I was going to die that night. Like I thought someone was going to come. We were like two tourists in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? I don't know. So there you go. There's an irrational fear. I was like sweating and my husband was like, are you okay? And I was like, the whole night. And then that's where the moth comes into play because there was like one bug where we were. And like I was on my phone trying to distract myself. We turn off the lights and this bug like flies into my phone. So I screamed because I was already like heightened by my anxiety. My
Yeah.
husband screams because I'm screaming, which then doesn't feel good for me because I'm like, why are you screaming? I no longer feel safe. But anyway, so there is a big irrational fear that like just happened like a month ago. I thought we were going to die in this Airbnb. So
Oh, but you didn't. You're okay.
yeah, no, we're fine.
Goodness.
Everything's fine.
Shauna, what about you? Do you have any fears?
Well, one minor fear was I always was worried that my daughter might come down and start making noise when I was doing the show. And she just did it. No, I'm just joking.
Right?
Okay. No, I'm joking around. No, this isn't my fear, but this is a fear that my mom had. Okay, so she was walking home with my dad when they were dating, and she snuck out, and she wasn't supposed to be on the date. So she comes back into the house, and my grandfather is there, and he says, "Turn around for a second." My mom has a bat stuck to the back of her jacket. And so my grandfather's coming and like trying to get it off of her back with this broom, right? And she's like, they're all both screaming and running around the house, right? So this is funny. So every time anything that's flying would get near her, she would freak out and think it was bat. So there was one time we had a fireplace at our house and the vent was open and we heard something that was coming down. Well, this bird came in down the vent and it was me and my sister, and my mom lost it. She was screaming. She went into the room, locked herself in the room. I was there with like my sister who was like maybe 2 or something. And I was like, trying to figure out what to do. She thought it was a bat. It was a bird. Anyways, so it finally flew around and then eventually it made its way out again. But it was hilarious. So she would always have this fear, and I kind of have it too now, because if anything's flying around, I'm like, oh my God, is that a bat? I always think that. So that's my biggest fear, is like getting a bat on me or on my back or on my head, anything like that. I fear that.
I say, I don't think I was afraid of bats until you told that story. Now I'm like,
yeah, I know my mom instilled it in me now. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want that to happen to me.
Both our faces, Courtney, the whole time Shauna was telling that story, we were like,
I know.
I'm talking like there'd be like a butterfly trying to come in the window of the car. And she'd be like, oh my God, is that a bat? And I'm like, no, Mom, it's a butterfly. Like, what are you talking about? You know, it's funny. Anyway. Yeah.
When I was a kid, my mom still is terrified of spiders, like any spiders, big, small, whatever. So then in turn, I'm like the spider killer. So to me, I see a spider, I'm like, you're dead, spider. Like it's my automatic reaction because of growing up with her. Like she would, any kind of like lose her mind. Like there was times where she was driving and if she thought she saw a spider, like we would be in an accident, life would be over because she'd be like, I'm like, no. So it's funny how not only do we learn things from our parents, but we then sometimes change them to our own or take them on ourselves.
Yeah.
And a quick question before we're done, because we've blown through our time so quick here, ladies. It was just so lovely chatting with everyone. But I had this question of like, okay, if we have these fears, irrational or not, do you think people can ever really get over their fears? I know that's a loaded question. It's a little bit big, but then when you explained that version, Veronica, of like, the spinning, like I was like, wait a second. Well, if there's different levels, then yes, I think they could. But if there's some things that like stuck in you, I don't know.
I think it's possible. I don't know if you've ever seen, there's this movie called Divergent. Have you ever seen it?
Ooh, I don't know if I have.
It's a very good movie. And basically like people that get put under with this, like the shot of something that makes them go sort of into a different world, into their sort of subconscious mind. And it's their fears. And so some people couldn't handle their fears and they'd be in it. And then there was one character in it where she would just like slow her breathing down and she would just talk herself down and she'd be like, just keep breathing, you know? And I really think if you really do work on it, I think you can get over it. But I think the severity of it, it depends on the severity too, right? Like if it's something super severe and you have a huge amount of trauma associated with it, I don't know, that's a toughie. I don't know if that's possible, right? That's my take on it anyway.
Veronica, what do you think?
Yeah, I feel like it depends on the varying levels. And I think you can also grow out of them, like something that you were really afraid of, like when you're 5, let's say, and then you realize, okay, well, that wasn't really real, no longer afraid of that. You know what's interesting though, is I feel like to a certain extent, some of them, not all degrees of fears, but some I feel like is almost like we've set it for ourselves. So then you just continue to like react a certain way, or like, are you really, and I'm not saying they're valid or not valid. Of course, all fears are valid, but even for myself, right? When I say like, I'm afraid of moths, well, I mean, it kind of depends. It's not always. So sometimes I'm like, and then other times I'm like, okay, it's not a big deal. And same thing with the dark, right? Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm really freaked out right now. And sometimes it's not. Like, that's for me personally. But yeah, I find that like really, I'm really curious about that, and how, how long we kind of carry a fear for. Let's say, like, if you're afraid of a spider when you're 5, are you still afraid of a spider when you're 40? And like, why, kind of thing. So I don't know. I'm just really curious about that. But yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah. My mom's almost 75 and she's still very afraid. Like, I think she would still lose her mind. Yeah, it's not going to happen anytime. No pet spiders for her. That's it. Well,
She has you to take care of it.
well, that's it. I got to take care of those spiders. Ladies, this has been so lovely. Let's go where people can find you. So Shauna, where can people find you?
Yes, definitely. You can find me on Instagram at Shauna Brown Music 111, my website, shaunamusic.com. You can like my Facebook page at Shauna Songs. And, I'm on all the other platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, you name it, at Shauna Brown.
Veronica, what about you?
I need to get better at my socials, is what this is prompting me to do. But our podcast, as I mentioned, is Life Is Podcast, and you can find us on multiple platforms. And actually, you can find my group, because as I mentioned, I'm sipping my way to wellness. So it's called Fill Up Your Cup with Veronica on Facebook.
Awesome. And then as always, if you want to catch up with me, I'm the Renaissance Mama at therenaissancemama.com, or you can find me usually on Instagram at Courtney Renaissance Mama. So thanks again, ladies. And thank you everyone for checking out this edition of The Blaze. Bye.
Bye.